Hey everyone, we're back. Welcome to another HaloPSA video, following on from our very successful implementation series. This time we're focused on more advanced features of Halo. And again, with me today, I have my all-time favorite person at Halo, Mr. Halo. I know he was missing out on being called that, so we decided to help him out, and help him get through that by getting him back on screen and kind of stroking his ego a little bit. So, how are you doing, Morgan?
Yeah, very well. It's good to be back. Yeah, as you mentioned, we've done our initial implementation series looking at the fundamentals of HaloPSA. Now we're going to take a look at some of the more obscure features, I suppose, some of the less widely used feature sets, and the purpose of this series is to really get the most out of HaloPSA. So make sure that you are using all the bells and whistles where appropriate.
Yeah.
So the agenda for today, if I share my screen, is going to be looking at resource booking in Halo. So there's two methods to resource booking. There's resource booking of assets and there's resource booking of agents. So yeah, we'll start off with the assets and we'll go from there.
Sounds great. Yeah, I mean, and I get asked this quite a few times as well around the resource booking, and I think you're right. We covered off all the basic stuff. Now it's good to kind of get into the meat and potatoes of it, so to speak, and get people seeing what else Halo can do. And I think resource booking is a really good one for us to start on because we this is certainly a question I get asked a lot. So
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So again, it's worth providing a little bit of context here behind the motivation for some of these features. So resource booking for assets is a prime example really is you might have rooms in an office that you want to book out, or you might have some specific bits of hardware that you want to use, might be like some CPU power or something like that. And what you can do with the asset resource booking is effectively book out the asset. And it's also worth mentioning that this functionality, the asset level resource booking, was primarily developed for Halo ITSM, whereas the agent resource booking is probably going to be more applicable to MSPs, but we'll work our way up to that functionality. So first things first, how do we enable resource booking in Halo? Well, we do that in our configuration panel. And in asset management, we have this resource booking module here that we want to make sure is enabled. I guess it's also worth mentioning, because I know this came up in the phase one of the implementation. For phase two, I've spun up a new trial, so things might look a little bit different. Again, some configuration and some new features have been added since we first spun up the initial instance of HaloPSA. So things might look a little bit different. Of course, if you see anything as I'm clicking through that you want a hand in understanding, then just leave a comment below and we'll be able to get back to you. But yeah, let's go back. Configuration, asset management, resource booking. So the first thing you see up here is a little bit of blurb. Now we'll turn off the agent resource booking for now. We'll come back and we'll turn that on in a moment. But the first thing that we'll need to do is we'll need to make sure, if we're talking about asset level resource booking, that we actually have an asset type in Halo that is bookable. And we have a link here to go to our asset types. So let's say we have a laptop that we're renting out for whatever reason. And we'll see, as long as our resource booking module is enabled, we have this resource booking tab against our different asset types where we can enable resource booking for assets of this particular type. Now, once we enable that, we have a few options that appear below. Firstly is the resource booking hours. So what time can we actually book this resource out? Is it just Monday to Friday, or is it 24/7? So you can specify your hours in here. And then below that, we have our different booking types. So let's not do laptop. That's a pretty bad example. Let's go back and let's use a
mobile phone. Maybe is probably a good one. Or
yeah, sure. Use mobile phone. So we might need this for 2 hours. 2-hour call. We've got our duration in minutes or in days. So put 120 in there. We've got buffers as well. So hopefully people are familiar with the concept where you just don't have back-to-back bookings. You can have buffers in between. And then a message to appear below. And of course, you can have multiple different types of bookings. So I might also want full day.
Yeah, maybe weekend or something. You need to borrow whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So below that, we have some additional settings. So here we can actually pick from a list of devices that can be booked out, or we can just round robin and just allocate the next available device. We'll have this option on. And then down here, of course, if we're booking assets, if we're booking assets and assets are allocated to a site, we can specify the site or all sites that we want to be able to book the device from. And then down here we have our asset restrictions, which kind of works in a similar fashion to our web access level that we saw when we were having a look at the self-service portal configuration. Basically determines the level of access that an individual would have to booking an asset. Cool. And then again, we've got our minimum hours in advance that we allow to book, and then maximum number of days in advance as well. So we can specify a time frame. Cool. So the process of booking assets is actually done from a ticket. Now, if we go back to config asset management resource booking, we can see there's a little bit of information about a particular field that we need to add on to our ticket type that will then be used for the resource booking of assets. So let's go ahead and create a new ticket type. And again, this is assuming that we've already gone through phase 1 of the implementation. So hopefully people should be comfortable with creating new ticket types. So I'm going to brush over all of that. Go to our field list, add our resource type in there. Go to our settings. That was new. Go to our default, select initial status. That's all fine. Put it in the team. Cool. So now we've got our resource type field on our book mobile ticket type. What does that actually look like in practice? Well, let's go ahead. Let's raise a new ticket. So firstly, we see this resource type. Now, the resource type relates to the asset type.
Yep.
That we have allowed resource booking to be available on. Now that's the first part. We do need to add at least one other field on there that actually allows us to pick the time frame for which we want to book the mobile out on. So So I think if we go in, resource booking, I think. Let's have a look. Cool.
Yeah.
Now, so firstly, we've got our resource type here. Below that, we have our booking types that we allowed to be used. And then we have the calendar below where we can specify our date and our time, and then our resource as well. So the options in here are the different, in this case, mobile phones that we already have in Halo. So the date is when we're booking it out for, the duration is how long we're booking it out for, and the resource type equates to the asset type. So
I can see a real use case for this. And I was actually talking to somebody the other day that was doing this with kind of company vans or something like that, right? Where you might want to have somebody taking the company van out for a length of time to go to a customer, and where you had mobile numbers, they just had registration plates of the vehicle. So which vehicle's been taken out, when and how and by who and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really good use case for it.
For sure. Yeah. We have something similar with a room in our office where we book that out for 1 or 2 hours, and then people can see what the availability is of that room. So yeah, I always find that's a good example as well.
Yeah.
Cool. And finally, I think as well, we have on our calendar view the dates and associated tickets for which the asset in question is booked out. So at a glance, you can easily see what you have booked out when from the tickets tab. So yeah, there's not heaps to it, but it might be one of those points that's overlooked during an initial implementation. But I think there's quite a lot of value that you can get out of resource booking capabilities for the assets, at least, and probably more so for the agent side, which we'll have a look at now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I tend not to talk about these in the general, implementation, but I think, like you said, it adds so much value, and there's and booking out a room or a van or something, I think is a really good use of these. And almost every person, I think, or every company I speak to, always has some kind of resource that needs to needs to be shared across teams, and they need to know where it is at any time, and booking it out using the system, I think, is a really good idea. Most people kind of do it on Excel and those kind of things, so it's good to kind of have it in the system.
For sure. Right, so agent resource booking. We enable this, and there are some options that appear below. Firstly, we have this dollar appointment booking. So those of you that have been through phase 1 of the implementation should be familiar with the concept of dollar variables and where they would go, specifically in email templates. Let's make sure that is the case. So if we go to config email templates, we go to ticket update, we have a small bit of text here, book an appointment with $agent first name here, and then we can see that is using $appointment booking, which I think is the right variable. I'm just going to double check. Appointment booking. Yes. Cool. So it also mentions down here that the agent is determined by the ticket resource booking type at ticket type level. So if we hop over to our ticket type configuration, perhaps to an incident, I think it's in the settings tab. Cool. Yeah. we can see down here, we have our agent resource booking section. So we can specify that as a particular agent or an available agent in a particular team. And then down here as well, we've got some defaults around the default team that we want to be able to book from. Same for the booking type. And then down here, if we're selecting from allowed teams, we need to specify those allowed teams. So it might be that we only want to be able to pick from first and second line support.
Yeah.
And then it's worth mentioning here as well that at ticket type level, we also have a default asset booking resource type. So, you know, going back to the van example, it might be that the ticket type is, you know, van hire or van usage or van booking, whatever. If you have 3 or 4 different asset types in Halo, you're going to want to default that one to van. So of course, per ticket type, you can specify the default asset type for the resource booking there as well. Cool. So I'll just hop into a ticket and then send an email out. And then click on our link. Oh, sorry, can't do that. Go back here. Open that up. That link is going to take the user in question to the self-service portal, and in particular to a booking page on the self-service portal, where we'll see a similar screen to what we saw a moment ago with our asset type booking, namely our duration and our time slots available.
Yeah.
And then if we pop back over to that ticket, 2187, we can see that that has created an appointment for me. On the 22nd, and there it is. And so, of course, if your calendars are synced to Exchange, for example, that appointment will then go over to Exchange, get added into your Outlook calendar, and you don't have to worry about any of that. Your technicians can just see the work that they need to do by looking at their calendar, either in Halo or in Outlook. And it also is a handy means of bypassing the sort of the email tennis of, oh no, I can't do today, can you do tomorrow? I can't do tomorrow, blah blah blah. You just say, here's a link, book in some time whenever convenient for you. They follow that link, they book in a time, appointment's created in Halo, syncs over to Exchange. Yeah, away we go.
This is almost like that's almost like a Calendly time zest type thing where where somebody can just look at the available slots in your calendar and just book some time with, which
it's a means of end users being able to schedule appointments with technicians directly from Halo.
From Halo, yeah. I mean, I still use Calendly and stuff to get customers to book appointments, but actually I think this is probably a much nicer way of doing it, because you kind of staying within the product, so it's a good way to kind of keep everything in one one kind of central place. So
Yeah.
yeah, again, I can see this being a really good thing. So I get a lot of people again asking me about, you know, integrations with the likes of TimesZest and Calendly and all these things, and you really don't need to integrate with that stuff if you've got it set up here. So
yeah, for sure. Now there's a couple of points worth mentioning. One of them is at agent level, you can exclude agents from the resource booking availability. So, you know, it might be that an individual is in the help desk, they might be level 2, but you don't want them to take appointments, or it might be that you know, service desk manager wants full visibility of tickets, wants to be part of the first line support team, but doesn't want to be accepting appointments from end users. So you can go into an agent and you can exclude them from resource booking. And one of the other points worth bearing in mind, again, which is applicable to the Exchange calendar integration, is when you're performing agent level resource booking, what you're doing is you're creating appointments. When you do that in Halo, you create an appointment of a certain type. And so in config asset management resource booking, under the agent resource booking, when you're specifying your different booking types, you can also, as part of that, determine the appointment type that you want to use, which is powerful in that if you are hooked up to your Exchange calendars, your appointment types can be configured to also be a Teams meeting. So it might be, I need to go in here. Obviously, this isn't hooked up in this instance, but if I can get it to show the option,
I think turn on the Teams integration, it allows you to do it via Teams.
It's not got anything to do with the Teams integration in this instance. It's just you need the Exchange calendar integration. You need to be using the Graph API to integrate with your Outlook calendar. And when you have that all set up, your appointment types give you an option to create an appointment in Outlook and create it as a Teams meeting as well. So again, it might be that you need to book a call, but it might be that you want to provide a Teams call as part of that booking as well. Again, similar to Calendly in that when you create Calendly appointments, you specify a location. Similar concept here.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's the long and short of it. So again, there's not heaps of configuration that you need to do to get this up and running. But if you're not already using a solution for resource booking, it's here in Halo. It's included in that license fee. You don't have to pay anything extra to get that functionality. You just go to config asset management resource booking, enable the options, configure your asset types if you're going to be using that functionality, set your ticket type configuration up if you're using the agent resource booking, add your dollar variable onto the email templates that you want to provide that link on, and away you go. Yeah,
that's very useful. I mean, I think, like you said, you know, there's many people that are looking to do integrations with all kinds of other, you know, booking tools, and there are tools like TimesZest and some of those that are designed for MSPs that kind of do integrate into this. But I think, you know, the fact that this is kind of out of the box and very straightforward to set up, you know, it might be that actually as an MSP you don't need to use any of those other tools because you've got it built in here in Halo. And you know, and this does a pretty good job for most use cases that people would need. So
yeah, I don't want to. So you know, an honourable mention to TimesZest. They have an integration with HaloPSA, and and I actually did a webinar with them a few months ago, and we mentioned that resource booking was native Halo functionality. I want to make it clear, of course, that TimesS's resource booking functionality will likely be more comprehensive than HaloPSA's because that is their domain. So it's about weighing up the pros and cons. If you just need to use agent resource booking to the extent that you've seen it here today, great, that's included in Halo. But if you are looking for something more comprehensive, then yeah, definitely check out TimesS. They do integrate with us. So
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and that wasn't obviously to detract anything that they're doing. You know, it's I know a lot of MSPs that use them. I have the integration set up. I use it myself, part of it myself as well. So yeah, but I think from a very basic level, what this does, I think a lot of MSPs, you know, just simply saying, hey, I want to book an appointment with Morgan, or I want to book an appointment with whoever it is, to just book an appointment and get a Teams link. You know, that's what most people kind of need to do. So so yeah, I think it's really cool, really good functionality. So hope everyone's found this video useful. You know, leave some comments below if you want to see more, or you know, you want to kind of ask any questions. Myself or Morgan can answer those. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and as always, Morgan, thank you so much for your time. I know how valuable your time is, and I really appreciate that you're, you know, spending time to help us record these videos. And as always, thanks to Halo for letting us use you, and really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll be doing a few more of these, so look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.
Yeah, look forward to kicking off phase 2 here. So see you guys on the next one.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks. Bye bye.